Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Questioning a better way, one gracefully disruptive conversation at a time.
Welcome to Turmeric and Tequila. I am so excited to be with you here today. We've got an exciting conversation and we're already energetically vibing because we're wearing similar colors. So we are bringing the bright light to everyone's world today. Before we jump in, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Special thank you to Colorado Clownfish Swim Club. They are local and family owned. They have swim lessons and water safety training for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports. So go waterproof your family today. You can go see them at coloradoclownfish.com. And our very own Declan James watches. They are also local and veteran owned, and 10% of their proceeds all go back to the Navy SEAL Foundation. So go check out all their beautiful timepieces. Without further ado, I want to welcome the powerhouse, Melissa Perlman, to Turmeric and Tequila.
Hi, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, I'm going to give your very quick bio, but then we're going to jump right in because we have a wealth of intel, and I already can tell, and I already know Melissa is all about the energy and vibe. So we're going to dig into the intentionality of things. She gave up her Jimmy Choos to trade in some flip-flops. So we're going to unpack it, but here's her formal bio, and then we'll get to the human, as you know we do. She is a multi-figure global founder and wellness CEO, guiding burned out female executives to reclaim authentic self and femininity in 7 days with her Tulum retreats. She's the founder of Amansala Resort and Bikini Bootcamp. She's a co-founder of investing group Gitano. Am I close?
Yep, Gitano. It means
Gitano. We even practice. I'm not even gonna get this out because we keep the humanness, but we practiced before we got on the mic, and you know how I do. But Melissa, tell us, before we get into all the business exciting stuff, the breakdowns and the breakthroughs, tell us about young Melissa. I think who we are as a young person is very indicative of who we become as an adult. So tell us about young Melissa.
You know, that's so interesting because, I think of myself when I was a little girl and we didn't travel or, to exotic places. Our family, we'd go to San Diego in the summer and we stuck around home and we didn't do much. But my mom was a dreamer. And my mom was always attracted to ethnic food and people from different cultures, and would talk about the Dalai Lama when I was a little girl, and make curries. And I'd come home from school and everybody else would come home and their house would smell like chocolate chip cookies and mine would smell like, like a Indian restaurant. And I think all of that seeped into me somehow and gave me wanderlust and curiosity about the world. And when I graduated from college, I decided to go start exploring, and I took off and I went and lived in Japan for 6 years.
Nice.
And traveled around Asia because every 6 months you had to leave for the visa run. And, and I just traveled a lot. But as a little girl, my mom used to always say, I hope there's a small country in need of a dictator when you grow up. So I think that gives a little insight to my character. I always was very determined in whatever I undertook, and strong-willed and confident. And somehow my parents bestowed upon me the lack of the fear of failure gene.
Yeah, I love it. Well, she said a small country. There's a big country right now. We're playing with dictatorship. I'm just kidding. We're not going to get into politics, but we keep it light here. We just poke the bear just enough. But I love that your mom said that, especially to you and your young self. Were you the oldest child?
No, I was the second child.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Do you feel like where you fell in line was very indicative of how you became? Like, did that impact things later on?
You hear all about like the eldest child, the middle child,
Yeah.
and I don't really know. I have a very an amazing older sister who's also very driven, who's very confident. She's actually in the travel world. She's called the travel mom, and I have a younger sister who also is full of spirit and really open. So I don't really know, but I took on a lot of responsibility as a youngster. I in many ways did things that kids my age didn't do. I would budget my mom's finances.
Okay.
And look after my siblings, and maybe I did that as a middle child. I don't know. Who knows? But yeah.
There's always some psychological way we can unpack things, but I'm always curious on people's own like interpretation, because I think I mean, it all matters, right? Nurture, nature, environment, all the things. And it's like what we pull from those arenas that I guess make us who we are. Is there entrepreneurship or strong females in the blood way before you?
My grandma on my dad's side, when they moved, they came over, their parents came over from Russia and they landed in Ohio, in Toledo, Ohio. And they were all in the grocery store business back when there were little grocery stores, on the corner. You'd go in and you would know the people's names. And my grandmother would help my grandpa in the store. And she said that one day somebody came in and wanted to pay for a can of beans. And she went to take the money. And he said, no, 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 she's not allowed to take the money. Like, she could only do other stuff. And she said she folded up her apron and she set it on the counter and she walked out that door and never went back. And she went and answered an ad in the classified section. Remember back then when that's how you'd find a job or find a house, in the classified section of the newspaper, and a real estate agency was looking for a woman. And back then you could say you want a woman or a man. They wanted a woman to answer the phone and learn real estate. So she applied and she became the number one saleswoman for many, many years. And one of the first female success stories in real estate in Toledo, Ohio. So I always think that I take after that grandma in many ways. And she was very feminine and very much, about being a grandma and being a wife and being a woman. But she was very empowered by making her own money and by being her own person.
Okay, grandma. Well, there you go. And again, you can be the powerhouse and be the feminine piece. You can do both things. Turmeric and tequila.
Exactly. They can coexist 100%.
Yes. Yes. I love this. Okay. So take us to the point where you then, was it after college, you got into the corporate world, you took more of the traditional path, or tell me about this journey, now that we've grown up and we're in the big world.
Well, I went to college at U of A. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. Kind of got a degree for the sake of getting a degree. And then I took off to Japan, was 6 years there. Always entrepreneurial. Back in Japan, they had a lot of investment bankers who lived there, and there was nothing to eat for lunch. And so I came up with this idea to make an American bento box and deliver it to all the investment bankers. So I recruited a lot of foreign girls who were working as hostesses or models in Japan, and they became my delivery team. And I opened a business called Miss Melissa's with the tagline, "For beautiful boys, healthy life." And we would go and I would make these really great, big, thick turkey sandwiches and pasta salad and homemade cookies and fruit. And we'd sell them to the investment bankers. So that was pretty entrepreneurial in a foreign country where everything is, so different. So I've always had that spirit where I'd see a niche and go for it. So I did that little restaurant business, and I'd always think about ideas. And, I moved to New York, not back. I'd never lived there. But after 6 years in Japan, I thought, you know what? I think it's time to return to the States. And everybody says, you should live at least once in your life in New York. And I thought, I'm going to go do that now. So I was in New York and I got this idea to make a website with a compilation of the world's best places to rejuvenate the mind, body, and spirit. But I was a little ahead of my time because back then people weren't really talking about the mind, body, spirit, and it was a little woo-woo still.
Sure.
Now everybody's talking about that. So as I started to do all the research on this for this website I wanted to make, I realized that there wasn't anywhere that really hit the nail on the head as far as being a vacation with a purpose that was still adventurous and that was on a beautiful beach and a place where you could go alone and not feel out of place. Because by traveling all those years, sometimes I travel alone because I had to. And I realized that when I traveled alone, I met incredible people and I had incredible experiences. But there weren't really many places as a woman where you could really just go travel alone. There were a few of the higher end spas like Canyon Ranch or Maryvale, but they weren't really experiences as much as they were nice stays. And so I started to formulate my ideal vacation with a purpose, which would be a place where you could go alone or with a friend, and you would come home looking and feeling better than when you arrived. So I sort of compiled all this dream vacation into something that I would want, and I called it Bikini Bootcamp.
Love it. Well, so tell us about it. What do we do at Bikini Bootcamp? I'm so curious. Are we doing boot camp in bikinis? That sounds like a lot.
Well, the bikini's optional, you know?
Oh,
It's more
okay.
it's more just the name that conjures up the image, but that's not what it's about. And on the website, what we say is a 6-night program designed to rejuvenate you from the inside out through a combination of yoga, exercise, healthy eating, beachside pampering, and like-minded people.
Hey.
So basically, it's a vacation where you don't have to make a lot of decisions. You just show up. There's a schedule that you follow. It's not, a military grade schedule where you have to march around and get 5 almonds. It's more you wake up, you do a 10-minute meditation, you do a stretch, you take a beautiful walk down the beach, you come back and have a green juice, and then you go into a nice yoga vinyasa flow class and then come down and have a beautiful breakfast, a little time to chill out. And then, depending on the day, there might be a circuit class, or we might take off on a tour to see a beautiful cenote or the Mayan ruins, come back for a great lunch, get a massage, swim, and then do an afternoon, maybe Pilates or restorative yoga, dinner, and then some sort of fireside chat or other activity. So
Wow.
that's kind of the vibe of the place. So it's not hardcore, but it's definitely a vacation where you have a purpose and you're nurturing your body and you don't have to make a lot of decisions and you're having conversations with interesting new people and just sort of time to be with yourself, to look at the stars, to listen to the sound of the sea, to just kind of reconnect to yourself.
I love it. I have more questions, but I want to pack that. But I'm so curious, and I feel an intuitive pull to ask you. Tell me about the spiritual journey, because obviously there's something guided you to this, and you had some intel. But like, did you come from the busyness and then had a breakdown and breakthrough, and you're like, I need to do this, or why was this, reconnection to self so important to you personally?
You know what? It's really interesting because I never really led a life where I was like a stressed out executive or somebody who had burnout and I had this like major crisis. But perhaps it was that my mother was into Tibetan Buddhism and we hosted monks from a Drepung Losling monastery, which is one of the big monasteries that Richard Gere also supports a lot.
Okay.
And she would open up her home and we would have these rotating vans of monks, in the robes and everything, straight from India, where their monastery is. And they would come and she decided to host a Rinpoche. Probably, I don't
Okay.
know if you've heard what Rinpoche means, a
No.
reincarnated teacher, like little
Okay.
Buddha, where they, did the movie about they come and discover that someone is the reincarnate of a previous lama. So she hosted a Rinpoche, and I helped them form a 501c3 to bring the benefits of Buddhism to daily life. And as I did that, I learned a lot about it because I kind of had to learn about it to help this Rinpoche be able to talk about it. And I'm like, you have to break it down because most Americans or Westerners don't really have the background to understand what you're talking about. So
Yeah.
he kind of tutored me so I could break it down. And as I did it with him, there's something in Buddhism called the Eightfold Path. And one of those things is kind of like the 10 commandments of Buddhism. And one of them is right livelihood, where you do a work where you're going to actually be benefiting others.
Hey.
And I thought, I love food, I love wellness, I love massage, I love the beach. And imagine to be able to do that in a business where you're bringing right livelihood into play. So I was really driven by the idea of doing something I love. And I've always been the type of person who says, well, if I like it, why won't others? So I built it as if I was the role model or the client for this business. And I just kept expanding on it. And I put all the things that I wanted in a vacation into this program. And it resonated with me and thousands of other people.
Wow. That is, how did your mom know about I'm really curious. I want to focus on her for 1 second. How did she know about Buddhism, like the depths of it? And then in Midwest Ohio, this is wild.
Well, we moved when I was 5 to Phoenix, Arizona. So I
Oh,
grew up
gotcha.
in
Okay.
Phoenix. And, I would hear like she had a picture of the Dalai Lama and she'd sometimes talk to me about it. But I was little and I was like, is he a painter? Like I really didn't know what she was talking about. And then as I got older and the monks started to come to the house and they would stay with us, she actually got a church up the road donated some empty rooms and some of them would sleep there. The others would sort of camp out in the house. And I would talk to them and I learned about their stories and who they were. And I don't really know how she became so curious, but she was always curious. She always, like, when we were little, if there was like, how they have festivals like the Greek festival or the Italian festival or the Japanese day, we were there. Like every cultural festival in town, she'd take the kids, get in the station wagon, and we're going to go, to whatever festival. So I think that she always had this perspective of this interconnectedness of human beings. And it was never limited to just the people in our neighborhood. It was like there's a world out there. And she exposed us to a lot of cultural things, through art, through festivals, through food, through clothing. She would wear like African, I don't even know what they're called, like muumuus to the grocery store. And I would be so embarrassed as a kid. I'd be like, oh my God, my mom's wearing a muumuu. But she was always into ethnic things. She was very artistic and very creative, and miss her dearly.
Oh God bless. I love that so much. Well, I really do believe everything is leading us up to this point. So that's pretty wild as like a 0-year-old having conversations with a monk and getting like real life in real time feedback that's unfiltered. And here you are kind of, I hate to Americanize this, but being a branded ambassador for Buddhism as a young person, and now kind of being able to like spread the gospel your own way, like, and interweave those teachings and impact through what you do. Like, it's so wild how intentional we can be, but like also we're being set up unintentionally, like through without our own work, to be doing what we're doing now.
Yeah, it's like we never know the information that we're getting, and the exposure that we're getting as a child, or just as we're going through life. You don't know how that's going to come out, but it's all important. And you might not realize it at the moment, but it forms and shapes you. And definitely everything in my childhood shaped me to be who I am today. And I feel so fortunate that I'm able to come in and do that as my work. And my work is doing good for the people that come. So it's like this residual effect. There's one in the financial, great, but it's like a side benefit. It's very altruistic and, karma. Like I didn't really know what karma meant when, the Rinpoche would talk about dharma and karma. And we all sort of think we know what karma is, but it's for every action, there's a reaction. So when we do an action with good intention, we give that reaction to the other person. So I believe strongly in karma. Be a good person, do what's good, treat people nice. Yeah.
I love it. Well, in this day and age, our young humans, I think there's a massive conversation on mental health, 2 pillars of Turmeric Tequila are mental health and community. And so you need those things in your world. The more we can facilitate these conversations and show leadership and entrepreneurs where you can do a business that brings joy and fulfillment to your heart, and it's not just what your degree was or what checks a financial box, but you can make all these things work. If you can figure that out, then you can help the mental health and community piece. So I think we're in a space right now as leaders where the younger generation's coming up and they're more open-minded to living this kind of life. And you're such a perfect example and leader in the space where they can be like, I see what she's doing. I can see how I can bring pieces of my world together and make it make sense and be financially successful, but also like karmatically successful, or paying it forward, or purposefully, and living, I want to say too, like in your highest self. Does that make sense?
100%. I do exercises sometimes at Amansala, where I say, taken from The Artist Way, which is a wonderful book. It was written many, many years ago, but it's still very relevant, where it's like, if you could be doing anything in the world, what would you be doing? And people write it down and then say, who wants to share? And as they share, it's like, well, why aren't you doing that? Like, what could you be doing in your world to bring that into a reality? And people, sometimes they think things are so impossible, but they're not, and in this day and age, the idea of going to college and getting a degree and having a traditional career, it's kind of on the out. And people can make a career out of anything that interests them, pretty much. Like I always say, like, hey, if you're into that, there's other people into that. I have a 19-year-old son who's kind of struggling on what to do and what to be, and looking at what I do, but that's not really his passion, but what's his thing, and I'm like, find what you love and the money will follow.
Yeah.
There's a way to make a business. Like maybe you need a coach to get some entrepreneurial like thought. Okay, how do you take what you love to do and make it into a business? But there's a business for everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's a high-end market for everything too. There's always, I like to tell young people, money's an energy, and there's lots of it out there, and you can do it in the most purposeful, meaningful way. There doesn't have to be any sort of negative connotation around that, which I think a lot of us culturally and whatnot have to continue to unpack the money and the energy conversation. But tell us a little bit more before we get to Amansala about your current energetic and spiritual beliefs, or how that still guides your daily practice.
I don't really have a very strict practice, like where I wake up in the morning and I meditate for 20 minutes. But I like to think of myself as being aware, aware of the impact I'm having on other people. Grateful. I have a lot of gratitude. I wake up in the morning and I feel grateful for doing what I'm doing, for all the amazing people I'm meeting, grateful at the end of the day. So I don't really have a specific practice where I have a regiment, but it's just more a way of living, of being, I try to be mindful and treat, everybody from the guy who rakes the garden to my manager, just with respect, and think and remember that everybody's just trying to have a happy life,
Yeah.
and how one kind word can affect somebody in such a powerful way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I like that you are facilitating this community. Tell us about Amansala, who it's for, what kind of people are coming, but what kind of people do you want to bring out? Like, give us the full details. It sounds so amazing.
Well, Amansala is really for everybody, because it's for anybody that says, I need a timeout. It's like we take ourselves to the dentist to get a checkup on our mouth, but we don't take our full being to get a checkup. So a visit to Amansala or a stay at Amansala is like doing a checkup for your entire being. It's an opportunity to reconnect to yourself, to be away from your day-to-day activities or responsibilities. A lot of people come alone, which some people are like, I never travel alone, but they're so happy that they do.
Yeah.
You don't have to have your old stories. You don't have to worry about anybody else. So, we get everybody from burnt out business executives to digital kind of people who can work from wherever, to recently divorced women, to empty nest syndrome women, and the age range is, I'd say, from probably around 30 all the way to like around 60, some younger, some older. But really the common theme is just people that are aware of needing to prioritize themselves and doing something for themselves. So, we don't, it's not like we have like a demographic of like everybody's working out, 6 days a week and they're super strict in their diet. We get some people who have been away from a workout program for many years and they want to start to be more in touch with their body. We have other people who are really into yoga, but they've never done anything else. We get, people that want to be with a mother and daughter getaway and have a memory that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives.
I love it. And is it primarily women?
It started out primarily women, but it's really interesting because men are finally catching on that this is important for men as much as women. And so we get a lot of men, and we actually rebranded on one of our websites for Beach Bootcamp, but they're actually the same program. But a lot of men are shy to sign up for Bikini Bootcamp. So
Totally.
But yeah, men as well. It's for everybody. And the men who have come have loved it, not just because there's more women than men, but just, away from work, away from stress, a time to sort of think about what's important, reprioritize, and sometimes we get going so fast in our lives or with our careers that we forget, hey, what's our goal? Like, where do we want to be in 3 years?
Yeah.
Where do we want to be in 5 years? So it's an opportunity to just to see, hey, there's other ways to live, and there's more than work, and think about life.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned and continue to learn is to learn how to be still and not figure out. This is a conversation I had before we got on the mic, and it's this continuous process of like pausing and kind of listening, especially if you're a doer. Is this something you're good at, or is this something you consistently work on?
Which part?
Being still.
Oh, it's really interesting because I'm like people wouldn't think that I'm still because my energy is really high, but I can like check out in a minute and become still. Like I don't go to bed worrying about things.
Okay.
I'm able to be super, super chill, and I don't have to work on it. It's,
Yeah.
it just,
Okay.
yeah.
Have you always been like that? Like, it's just kind of like innately within you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. And I think that is a very good like turmeric and tequila because you can be high energy. And that's probably why you have energy to be high energy because then you can shut down and do you
A
on a
lot
different
of people
level.
misinterpret it or they misunderstand, or they
Okay.
judge and they think like, oh, she's so buzzy, when do you slow down? And I'm like, just because a person has a lot of energy and a big smile and is enthusiastic doesn't mean that they're nervous,
Yeah.
or it doesn't mean that they don't know how to chill out. When I'm present, I'm super present. I'm super
Mhm.
alert. I'm super there. When I'm working on a project, I'm super there. But at the same time, it's like I'm very in the moment. So I'm not like in 10 directions. When I'm talking to somebody, I'm talking to them.
Yeah, I love that so much. People are sometimes surprised when I have bad days because I am like you, like high energy when I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm like, puppy energy where it's like, oh, we're here, we're in it. And then when I'm tired, I'm tired. But how do you manage like some of your off days? Like, do you have any good like tools or tricks around that?
On an off day, I try to not be on the computer.
Yeah.
Try to be outside, be in nature, be with my daughter. If she'll be with me, she's a teenager. That's another topic. And do something for myself, and it might be, it sounds silly, but even when I go get my teeth cleaned,
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm nurturing myself. I'm
Yeah.
taking care of myself, go get a manicure, go get my hair done, whatever it might be, buy myself a treat, to be in and to be consciously being like, you deserve it, let me spoil you.
Mhm.
I'm not waiting for somebody to come and spoil me. I'm able to do it for myself and then recognize, that feels good to do something for myself. So, yeah, so it varies.
I love it. Yeah, well, I think it's just like bringing it back to the retreat or just taking a vacation or checking in with your well-being of doing the little stuff. Like if you want to be consciously kind to others, like bringing that back to yourself and the hyper awareness around your own self-talk and those kinds of things. Are there any like gurus or leaders or people that inspire you that stand out in your mind that you like if you get off track, you're inspired by this person that does X?
I hate to say it, but not really. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
there's
the
so
same.
many amazing people out there, and especially with podcasts now, every time I listen to a podcast, I'm impressed with the person I'm listening to. And
Yay.
I think that every person has their own story and you can learn from them. And, with the different clients in the hotel, like people share their stories of overcoming obstacles or grief or, childhood trauma. And, just listening to people, how they're resilient and how people get up and they stand up and they do their thing and they show up. My father, he's 88. He's in the hospital right now. I look at him for inspiration. Like just a positive mindset
Mhm.
is so important, and to just wake up and look at the glass as being half full instead of
Yeah.
half empty. So, there's so many people
Yeah.
and it's not, and I don't really have anybody that I go back to and say, oh, like that person is really the person that inspires me.
I love that. So I'm so in alignment with you. I do on this podcast say God, universe, Madonna. I'm a big Madonna fan, mostly because I think she's like our original disruptor, professionally and marketing wise. But I'm with you. There are so many heroes amongst us and doing big things that don't necessarily want to be brand ambassadors or influencers. But it's amazing when you can have a couple extra minutes to just hear a little bit more about their story because there's so much opportunity to be inspired in the every single day. Okay, so tell us anything about that is coming up, anything about Amansala, anything you want us to know that you have coming up in the near future that the people should know about.
Well, we always have our ongoing programs. The two main programs that we offer are called Restore and Renew and Bikini Bootcamp. And those are vacations with a purpose. They're identical, except for Bikini Bootcamp has a little more cardio and kind of strength training and things like that. But some people are like, you know what? I train at home all the time. I don't want to do that on my vacation. So Restore and Renew is a little bit lighter. There's Pilates, there's stretching, there's beautiful tours, there's the mind clay meditation, all the healthy food, the massages, but without as much of the rah of the cardio stuff.
Mhm.
So if anybody is needing a timeout and wants a vacation with a purpose on a beautiful beach, I highly recommend Restore and Renew or Bikini Boot Camp. Those are our signature programs, and we have them ongoing throughout the year.
I love it. And what is the best place to find out more about this? Websites, Instagram handles, anything you want to share?
Sure. Our website is www.amansala.com, and that's spelled AMANSALA.com. And actually, what that means is Aman means peace, and Sala means place or water in Sanskrit. So it's peaceful place. And then we also have for Bikini Bootcamp a website, which is bikinibootcamp.com, just as it sounds. And our Instagram is Amansala Tulum. So you can find us on those on those 3 sites.
Love it. Go check them out. It's absolutely stunning and beautiful. And I think it's such a great mix of things. And I love that you guys did more of the restore piece. Cause like for a fitness human like myself, I think that total vacation where it's stretching and movement and mind movement more than body is so needed. Before we wrap up, go ahead.
Oh, one more thing I wanted to mention. We also host, we're one of the biggest yoga retreat centers in the world. And now it doesn't only have to be yoga. You know, people are hosting all kinds of retreats, masterminds, forums, menopause, whatever it might be. There's all kinds of things that where people are doing real estate retreats, you know, where you gather a group of people. So if you're a teacher of some sort and you want to bring a group of people down, we have an amazing venue. We provide the space and the rooms and the food and make it really easy for the teacher to just show up and do what they love. So if you're interested in hosting a retreat, we also have that to offer you at Amansala.
Let's go. Retreats are all the rage. I love it. Getting like-minded people together. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you our one final question. What is success to you?
Success to me is being able to wake up every day and be happy with what you're doing and not to see it as a job, but to see it as part of your life and to have that feeling of satisfaction that you're able to do something with a purpose. And at the same time, if you make money off of it, it's like the extra icing on the cake. But the real success is loving what you do, not being a slave to anyone, being able to incorporate your interest and your creativity and your passion and roll it all up into something where you're spending your time.
Amen. I love it so much. It's so real and so well said. Go check out what Melissa has going on. The space and the retreats are so beautifully and intentionally orchestrated. I know so many working humans that definitely need a break, myself included. But it's what you have. I think it's just so timely, and I'm really excited to see how this continues to grow. So go check her out. I want to give a special thank you to Colorado Clownfish Swim School. They are specialized in water safety training and swim lessons for all ages. They believe in life skills through sports. So go check them out. Declan James watches. Portion of proceeds go back to our Navy SEAL Foundation, so go check them out. Melissa, such a pleasure to have you. This video will be on YouTube, so join us there, and it will of course be wherever you get your podcast. So come like and subscribe and look for us weekly. We'll be out here with you. Everybody have such an amazing day. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining Turmeric and Tequila with your host, Kristen Olson. Tune in next time, and don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.